Okay.
Okay, welcome to the Ferguson City Council, our opening ceremony. Let us stand for a silent prayer. I'll pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Clerk Pittman to call the attendance.
Councilman Fry. He's present. He's present. Okay. Councilwoman Griffin.
Here.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Here.
Councilwoman Robinette.
Here.
Mayor Jones.
Here.
Councilwoman Lipka is still not here yet. And then Councilman Garrett.
Here.
Okay. Our quorum is present.
Mayor Jones,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to make a motion to remove resolution number 2021-3 from the agenda for today.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Can you tell me what that is? Paulo, can you read that to tell me what that motion is? I don't have that before me.
Resolution 2021-03. Apollo, do you have it?
I do. It's the resolution for the resolution for Republic Services, the contract, the extension of that contract.
Okay, thank you so much. I very appreciate it. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
It has been properly moved in second. Motion by Councilwoman Fran Griffin, second by Councilman Byron Fry. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Mayor Knowles, I'd like to make a couple of motions. Do you want me to do that now?
Okay, let me finish this one.
Okay.
Resolution 2021-03 has been removed from the agenda. Councilwoman Barrow.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to find out really what the purpose of the emergency declaration being still in place. And first, before I make the motion, I'd like to know why that is still in place, being that we are under the rule of the city manager, the county executive. Can you give me some insight on that?
We are still under the emergency declaration because we still have COVID cases in the city of Ferguson, and we still have limited capacity at the restaurants.
Okay, at the limited capacity at the restaurants, the city, the county has lifted that. And we are following their rules as far as the COVID is concerned. All of those things, we're following the same thing. We have been educated. If we want to talk to, I think Chief Hampton can give some insight on that. I move that we remove that perpetual declaration. I'm looking for a second.
What's the deck? Can you repeat?
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you, Stephen.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat what the resolution is?
1 minute, Apollo.
It's a motion to remove the declaration,
And I acknowledge Apollo Carey.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Burrow, and also Mayor Jones. I'm wondering if that particular motion is better served under new business or old business or something like that.
Sure, I can hold that.
Old business.
Yeah.
Do we have old business or unfinished business, Octavia?
Or unfinished, I'm sorry. You're
Unfinished.
right, unfinished business.
Okay, I think that would be unfinished business. And the second thing that, maybe the same thing should happen, and I appreciate that, Apollo, for you stepping in. My
You're welcome.
second motion then would go under new business, Mayor Jones. So I have the one for unfinished and one for new.
What is new business?
Are we gonna do new business right now? Or we gonna
You
wait
say
till
we got to put a motion to put it under new business. What
Okay,
is the,
I don't think you need a motion to put it under new business. It just should be brought up when new business is discussed.
Right.
okay,
And when unfinished business is discussed, that should be brought up. Right now, you were making motions to entertain changing the agenda, which is what you made the first motion to do that. So you've done that, and now you just need a motion to follow the rest of the agenda.
okay,
You need a motion
Okay.
to follow the amended agenda, and then you'll get to, in the unfinished section, Councilwoman Burrow will have an opportunity, and then in the new business section, she'll have another opportunity to raise.
okay,
thank you. Thank you so
Okay.
much for that.
You're welcome.
okay. A motion to continue the agenda,
It's to follow the amended agenda.
a motion to follow the amended agenda. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Seconded.
It has been moved by Councilman Fry and second by Councilwoman Lipka to continue the agenda. Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, that's the first part. Anything else, Apollo?
Now you just have to follow the agenda.
Okay, let's
And
move
then everything
on.
will be fine, yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, we are now at our public comment section. We ask that you submit your public comments by Monday, 5:00 p.m. We're using a new strategy that entails you submitting your public comment by 5:00 on Monday. And Octavia Pittman, our clerk, will call your name and you will unmute yourself and go over the comment. In addition to that, she will give you a 2.5-minute warning. And then at your 3-minute warning, she's gonna ask you to stop. If not, she will mute you. Okay, Clerk Octavia, do we have any comments for tonight?
Yes, we had Jesse Joist. And they did say that they were going to be present. I'm not seeing them identified by name here, but if you are present, please let us know. Okay. I haven't gotten any notification. I do have a comment if you would like for me to go ahead.
Octavia I was wondering, are you gonna, or Mayor, whoever, or if a person's not here, will you be able to read the
Go ahead
comment?
and read it. Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, so they still have to come forward. So did you want me to go ahead?
Yes.
Okay, so it says,
Hey, hi, this is Jesse Jost.
there we go.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, we hear you.
Oh, you hear me? Okay. Thanks for having me. I hope everyone's doing well this evening. I'm calling on behalf of my mother, who has lived in Ferguson for more than 60 years. She's 91 years of age and thankfully is still living in her own home. I'm requesting the city council members to work with county health care providers in order to prioritize COVID vaccinations for Ferguson's most elderly residents. It seems the very elderly should receive priority whether or not they reside in a nursing home or some other facility. Perhaps this initiative could be part of the Florissant Valley campus mass vaccination program. We need to protect the most vulnerable of our population, and I fear the very elderly living at home are being overlooked. Now, I'm going to give you some good news. My mother today we found out she is going to get the vaccination. One of her daughter-in-laws got her signed up. We're going to end up going to Potosi, Missouri, which is like an hour and a half away, but we're happy with that, and she's one of the lucky ones. But, you know, I'm still concerned. So anyway, everything's good with her, but I'm still concerned with, you know, the people in this community, you know, especially the very elderly. They're living at home, you know, and they don't have tech skills. They don't have resources. They don't have somebody working for them to get appointments. You know, it's very competitive, and if you don't have the tech skills, sometimes you get overlooked. And I was just wondering if you guys could come up with something to reach out to some of these very elderly people and help them get signed up and not bypassed. Okay?
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Do we have anyone else?
No, that's the only one we have today.
Okay, we will take that information under advisory and turn it over to the staff. The next item on the agenda is the manager's report. Interim City Manager Jeffrey Bloom, we would like to hear from you at this time.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to start, I'm going to change the order a little bit, if you don't mind. Chief Hampton is on duty tonight, and crews have been overly taxed in the last 2 days. So I'm going to ask Chief Hampton to start. Chief.
Mayor, Council, it's a pleasure being here. I am going to take my picture off because apparently my Wi-Fi is not doing really well right here, and hopefully that will help a little bit. To answer Mr. Yost's question, we are working on a plan. We're working with multiple agencies to try to come up with the plan to make this happen. We're working to create a sign-up sheet that we are also going to put out to the fire crews, and while they're on calls to gather addresses to help our most vulnerable people in our community get the vaccine. We're working with the hospitals, and I'm reaching out to the Department of Health to come up with a plan. We will have a form on our city's webpage in the near future, so people can self-acknowledge themselves, so we can attempt to accelerate the distribution of a vaccine to our most vulnerable people. I still, however, encourage everyone to reach out to their own doctors and sign up to as many places as you can to get on a list of vaccine. As you can see with Mr. Yost, he got his mother into a facility, even though it's farther away, he was still able to get him into a facility to get the shot. So we are doing well with our numbers in the city. We currently only have 91 locations that have tested positive. That we actually have had 0 new cases this past couple of days. So we are moving in the right directions. We can contribute this to a large number of people who have had the virus. They're taking the precautions and are getting the vaccine administered to them in the past couple of weeks. Hospitals are also seeing a 10% decrease in the beds being taken up to COVID patients at this time. And St. Louis County, I know, has had problems with the vaccine, but we have to remember that we have not received an allotment of vaccines in Missouri for the last three weeks. So we have not received a new shipment in 3 weeks. We also have to remember, when we give a shot, we're also accounting for the second shot. So that is already being accounted for. So you can't give a shot and hope that vaccine is going to come in and we'll get that shot to you. They're keeping that shot there for you for your second shot. I did ask my medical director a few questions today because I've heard things in the news and other things and people talking. The new strain of COVID, is the vaccine going to work? His response was, the data indicates that the current available vaccines work reasonably well with the new strains. There is some investigation going on about an additional booster for these vaccines, but that should not discount the point of getting the vaccine. The next question I asked, is the vaccine available at hospitals compared to Department of Health, who will have the more vaccines available to them? The state of Missouri, his answer is, the state of Missouri is deciding about how to allocate vaccines on a daily basis. Some days the hospitals get more than others. The best bet is that people that have not been vaccinated to register at several places, several locations. My next question was to him, if you can get the vaccine, this was Mr. Bloom's question that he asked me at the end of the day, last council meeting. If you can get the vaccine, can you still spread COVID to others? And how is this done? The answer is yes. It is possible to have the virus and spread it. The vaccine trials were focused on keeping people healthy, so the vaccine will protect you from the serious illness, but does not necessarily completely keep you from getting it. So hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Bloom. The next one I have is, will you be exposed? If you are exposed, do you need to take the exposure protocols once you have both shots? The answer is yes. Due to the above possibilities to get and spread the disease is still there. So our numbers are declining, and we also have to contribute that to keeping our spaces, keeping away from large gatherings, keeping our mask on, wearing our mask, and not going to large gatherings. So that's all I have right now. And I know also one other thing, Walgreens and CVS are now getting the vaccines. They will be starting as early as February 12th. Their system of getting the vaccine is different than the Missouri State that will get to the Department of Health and to the hospitals. I believe they're on a federal grant or federal contract. So, and I do not know how that exactly works. I didn't have time to dive into all that, but I will have answers for you my next update. I hope this helps everyone. And we will also keep all the links posted on the EOC site and on our Ferguson page and the Ferguson Facebook page. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have a moment for questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, Chief Hampton,
Yes, ma'am.
in regards to the elderly, as Mr. Jost referred to, those people that are homebound or live at home or are taken care of by their children, i.e. myself and my mom actually, is there a possibility, or could we make, even for later in the evening, make a motion to look into the possibility of creating, bringing the vaccines to them? I know you kind of mentioned a little bit about that. You kind of talked about, getting people to self-identify and that kind of thing. And that's part of the idea that I have. But once they self-identify, or like, I know we have a citizen, Mr. Salant has a 93-year-old neighbor. She doesn't have abilities to handle technology and everything else. So he went ahead and got her set up with, got her information. And that's what we need to do as a community, as members of this community. When we know there's someone nearby or a neighbor who is elderly, lives on their own, lives with a family member, that kind of thing, is there a way that we can create an opportunity or a team, however you want to create it, that would go to their home and give them the shot in their home? Can we do something like that?
So I would love to say, yes, let's do that. I would love to say we can take care of everybody like that and we can take care of everybody. But the problem is, it's still mandated how we can give out the COVID vaccine. That we have to follow the rules that are set in place. So a hospital may not be able to take them off their premises yet, or they may not be able to take them away from the mass vaccination centers or the Department of Health to those houses yet. That still has to be written, I believe, and they are working on things like this. So we can do resolution and all that, but we won't be able to follow through with it until they are allowed to take that vaccination off-site or away from their facilities that they deem as their facility at that time. So once I get more information on that, I will, give it to everybody. And that's one of our purposes of getting these addresses, is to try to create that. Are they, homebound, or what their needs potentially are, so we can help accelerate their vaccination.
Okay. So so like that movie says, so there is a chance, right? So
There's
there
always
is a
a chance.
possibility.
Yes, ma'am. There's always a chance.
All right. Well, it is something that I would like to have all of us as a council stay on top of, because it just benefits the community.
Oh, definitely. And we will be also on top of it at the fire department as well. And I know we'll be working with the police department on getting some addresses as well. Because like you said, we all are a team and we got to work together.
Even our neighbors helping the elderly to identify.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I would like to, Chief Hampton, today, I was on the Zoom call for the Ministerial Alliance, and I made request that you be added to that list, and that you, whenever available, you can send a designee to the 12 o'clock. I'll send you all the information, the 12 o'clock Zoom call I've been in it for 15 years, and we would like to have you as one of our members in that. So you're officially put on the list. Well, we thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. I'm honored.
Any other questions for Chief Hampton? Okay, Chief, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to call on Chief Armstrong to deliver his community policing update. Chief?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Bloom. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I don't have a whole lot to cover this evening. One thing I wanted to start out with and kind of hit on was last week, the department, we underwent our official bias training. And what we did with this was it was either the end of 2019 or early in 2020. We put on a bias class. We hosted a bias class here at the city, and we sent that information to the Department of Justice, and they told us that the class that we had put on did not meet their standards or their requirements, and pretty much don't do that again, is what they told us. And so, continue to work through them, and they put us in contact with Suffolk County, New York, the Suffolk County Police Department, who was also under Department of Justice oversight. And they recommended their bias training program that had already gone through and gotten the approval of the Department of Justice. And so Ms. Barton started coordinating with Suffolk County, and they were able to send some of their instructors here and spent 3 days with us last week teaching a trainer course that myself, the assistant chief, and several staff members here participated in. And on the last day of the training, they had a community component to it where community members were able to come in. Councilwoman Griffin was present for that portion of the training, and so it was great training. And so we'll take the training class that we got from them, and we'll work on it. And we still have some community entities that work with us on our training plan and stuff, and we got to work with them on it to fine tune a little bit to get our final finished product of what our bias program training will look like. But that was a big step for us in being able to get those individuals in here to do that training for us. Just some of the other things that we've had going on here lately. We did get a chance to participate in the Samaritan's Feet program. I was able to go out and stop by for a little bit when they were doing the packaging of the items that were going out. And then Sergeant Mink and some of the officers on his team were able to go down to Adopt a Block last weekend, where they were giving out, some of the packages and shoes through Adopt a Block. And so, we haven't been able to do a whole lot of the community, engagement stuff with COVID and the crowds and trying to, keep everybody protected around here. And so, trying to get back into it, but still have to be smart in how we go about it at the same time. One thing that is coming up is February 27th. That's a Saturday. It's going to be at Flow Valley. They're going to be doing, the Urban League is going to be doing the big food distribution event that day. And so you may be familiar with it. They have been doing it at Jamestown Mall, the really big event that they've been doing at Jamestown Mall. And so on the 27th, it'll be here in Ferguson at Flow Valley. And it potentially, may be once a month at Flow Valley for the next few months or foreseeable future. So we do have that coming up, and we're in meetings with them to work and coordinate to make sure we have everything, taken care of, and anything that's needed from the city for that effort. Councilwoman Lipka, I did want to give you an update. Thanks to the help of Dave Musgrave and his staff over at Parks and Rec, they've helped us with creating some flyers and social media campaign around, and I think I mentioned it the other week, the last council meeting, around the 9 p.m. routine, just trying to remind residents of getting in the habit of checking their vehicles and checking, their sheds and storages and things and such. And so we got some samples that they've done up for us, and we're going to start pushing out on our social media, where everybody can share it and stuff. And so hopefully, that can get the message out and the reminders for people to lock their things up, so we can cut down on the number of thefts and stuff that we're seeing. And we're also going to try to get a campaign going about the vehicle warm-ups, because we're being hit really hard right now with people, understandably going out to warm up the vehicles, but it takes a split second for somebody to jump into it and take off. And so definitely want to thank Dave and his staff for helping us out with that. And we're very shortly, in the next day or two, we'll be rolling those postings out on our social media. And the last thing that I have is just wanted to highlight and acknowledge Mary Simmons. She has retired from the city after over 20 years of service to the Ferguson Police Department. And we wish her all the best and continued health in her retirement. So definitely wanted to say thank you to her for all her years of service to the city. And that's all I have. Yes.
So first of all, to Mary Simmons, I hope she puts her toes in the sand on a very warm beach real soon, because she deserves that. But I also wanted to thank you for working on that public awareness campaign, and anything that we as council members can do to help you. Myself, mostly, I'm not talking for everybody, but as a council, I know we care. Personally, I'll be happy to help in any way I can. But the other thing I was going to say, we want to remind people not to leave guns in cars as well. That's a big deal as well. And I have a question. I have a couple questions. One question is, I've noticed that we've seen in our crime reports where the people who are warming up their cars, they take their key fob with them when they go back in the house, and yet their car is still being stolen. How does that happen? How does that happen, Chief?
Because when the car is running, it's running. And so the key fob, it doesn't, when you walk away or when you take the key fob out of the vehicle, it alerts you that the key fob has left the vehicle, but the vehicle is still running, so it's still able to be driven. The problem is once you stop it, you can't start it anymore. And so for the individuals that just want to jump in it and take it from point A to point B and drop it off and they're done with it, they're still able to do everything that they want to do with that vehicle. And so when the key fob leaves it, you can still drive it. It's just once the car is stopped and cut off, you can't turn it back on without the key fob.
So are people not locking their cars once they take their key fob? Because I know I can lock my car and leave and let it warm up with my key fob with me.
Correct. And yeah, that when you see that happening more times than not, it's the vehicle is still unlocked.
Okay. The other question I have, I know that we are close to, if not at the halfway point for the ShotSpotter 6-month free trial period. Mm-hmm. And I had requested in the beginning, and I think Fran and I both were real interested to get a halfway point on the data. Have we heard anything from the corporation? And because we requested that not from you, but from the corporation, because I wanted a baseline, I wanted a halfway point, and then I wanted the final results. And so we should, I don't know if we ever got the baseline. I'm assuming they did that. Maybe that was the presentation, so to speak. But we should be at the halfway point. So if we haven't gotten anything or heard from them, can we kind of light a fire under them for that information?
Yes, ma'am. And I'm not certain if we hit the halfway point yet or not, but I can, it's no problem. I can reach out to them and check on it and get something from them.
And then the final question I've had for you, and I've had a lot of people ask me this recently. Again, people just want to know, what is the current number of officers that we have on staff, officers and white shirts?
35 right now.
Is that total with our supervisors?
That's everybody, with me included.
So how many white shirts office supervisors do we have? Do we have 5?
No, we have myself, McCall, Dilworth, and Harris. So 4. So 1 lieutenant, 1 captain, 1 assistant chief, myself, and then we have 4 sergeants. And so that's all the supervisors that we have right now.
So it's 35 total, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And to follow up, what would be the ideal total number?
That's a loaded question, Councilman Garrett. The ideal total number would be 50 to 55.
Yep.
Now, what are we authorized for on paper right now is 45.
Okay. And more so just within operating on the consent decree, and what we have budgeted for is try to unload that a little bit.
I'm sorry, sir?
I'm sorry. I don't know if my mic is picking up. Just what we have budgeted for and what we are operating under with the consent decree is just what we're shooting for as far as when we are at appropriate staffing is kind of how I would like to unload that question a little bit.
Yes, sir. And that part is still being worked through with the Department of Justice. You know, one of the things that we recently submitted, one of our benchmarks was we had to produce a salary study for the department and surrounding agencies, you know, in the area. And so we recently sent that information to them. And I know another one of the things that Ms. Barton worked on was updating, it's not called a salary study, it was, there's another study out there just talking about staffing, our staffing study. There you go. And so, you know, those are things that we've recently presented to the Department of Justice. And so we have to have some more meetings to kind of go over it and talk about those things.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Chief Armstrong? All right, thank you very much, Chief Armstrong. Chief Hampton has one more thing to add. Chief?
Yes, Mayor Council, please, I'm sorry about this, but I would also like to tell everybody we are having a coat giveaway this Thursday, February 11th from 3 to 6 at the Ferguson Community Center. And it's just also clothes, shoes, slippers, purses, and things like that for your kids. So anybody's welcome to come on up. It's 3 to 6, and there is a process there. I do not know it. My firefighters have worked it out, and they'll explain it there. Dave Musgrave probably has a little bit more information that he can share as well, because we are working with the Parks Department on this. Thank you.
I have a question for Chief Armstrong. Chief Armstrong, you mentioned that when you stopped in at one of the giveaways, I had a couple of people who phoned me and asked me, are we, Jeff Bloom likes to say, we are, we may be low, but we're not broke. Is that the saying, Jeff? We're not broke yet. But some people question about how many pairs of shoes, how many of coats and all of this, are we that depleted? Because I don't get that information from the food pantries, from PAC Community Resource Center. We're giving away 1,000 pair of shoes. That's just a number I'm throwing out there, so don't nobody freak out. If we're talking about we're giving away that many shoes, are we doing that in Ferguson, or are we doing that in North County? Because it's not just inquiring minds want to know, it's if we're not doing our jobs at the intake level at the food pantries and finding out where these people are that are in such dire need, we need to rethink what we're doing. And for many years I've been talking about, hey, we're gonna end up with this homeless situation, and it's gonna be a shock to everybody, and this poverty situation. And so I want to know, are you actually giving out, say if you send 400 pair of shoes to Griffith or Bermuda or wherever, are those shoes actually being given to residents of Ferguson, because we need to take an assessment, I believe, on what our poverty level is here. Because when we're giving out, I end up sending some of the words that I have that come into my establishment out to, I form them out to other locations as far out as Maplewood, Kirkwood, wherever, and even down south into Missouri, because I'm not getting that we've got those many people that are in need. Food, yes, but not in need of clothing and dire bare necessities.
Okay.
When we,
Go
ahead.
No, Mayor Jones, I'll let you answer.
Okay, with Samaritan Feet, we've been doing this program for like 4 years now. And when we send, say, Bermuda, we talk to the counselor talk to the principal, they get back in touch with us and let us know, like, Bermuda needed 271 pairs of shoes, and that's what we send over to Bermuda. The same thing we do for Griffith. We talk to the counselor, we talk to the principal, and they give us a number, and we give them that number. This year, we included Adopt a Block, simply because we couldn't get in touch with the Riverview Garden School District, and people in that area on Southeast Ferguson, they interact with Adopt a Block, and that's why the shoes went there, and it was about 100 pair. So every pair of shoes that's given out according to Samaritan Feet is accounted for. In addition to coats, clothes, new clothes, Heroes of America, they Children Place. I think it's called Children Place. I don't have little kids. So Children Place.
Actually, Mayor Jones, I'm just wanting to know, should we do an analysis of a need assessment? All I need to know is if you say those numbers are happening, then we have a situation here that needs to be addressed. That's what I do, because I'm not getting those numbers for the folks that come to me. Now, of course, people that come to me, they need basic human needs like water, gas, and things of that nature. But if we, and I'm not getting it from the folks that, hey, my kids got no shoes on their feet. So what I want to propose that any council person that wants to get in on the act, I am going to start a need assessment as early as tomorrow. I will check with the school district. I'll check with the superintendent and see about us doing a need assessments in the schools to see what we are missing. Because if we have that going on with those many things, we need to know about it as a city. We don't want this to happen like, oh, we gave out 800 pair of shoes, but we really needed 2,000. So any one of the council members that want to get in on this project that I'm about to start tomorrow, I'm going to do a needs assessment on that. So just give me a call back. Don't want to put you on the spot. Give me a call back. I'll start it tomorrow. Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you, Chief.
Okay, any other questions for either Chief Hampton or Chief Armstrong? All right, thank you, Chiefs. We appreciate it. I'm going to add one more presentation tonight. It's a really sharp one. In fact, I'm going to take longer than the presentation. But Lexi, I'd like Lexi to update us as to where we are with refunding.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I just want to let you all know that we have sent out an RFP for the refunding to several different institutions. Those are due back to us on Wednesday, February 17th. So once those are back, they will be evaluated. Our financial advisor will make a recommendation, and then we will present that to you all at the next council meeting, which is February 23rd. At that meeting, we will request that a resolution is passed to select a vendor, not a vendor, to select one of those RFPs that we've received to get the paperwork started so we can close the deal should something come in that is going to be amenable to the city. I just wanted to give you all a heads up because it is a short time frame, because the rates are set, and if we drag it out too long, the rates will change and we won't get the most beneficial rate. So I just wanted to give you all a heads up that it will be coming.
Thank you, Lexi.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Lexi? All right, thank you very much, Lexi. And Mayor, that's it for us.
Okay, the special presentation, Lexi Miller, the Finance Director.
Okay, sorry, I'm back. Okay, so I guess, Octavia, do you want me to share my screen?
Yes, you should be able to.
Okay. Screen 3, sorry, screen 3. Hold on. All right, it's not wanting to let me. Hold on just a minute. Let's try this again. Share. Screen 3. There you go. Oh, well, okay. So can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So just so you all know, what I'm doing tonight is I'm presenting the financial statements for the 6 months ended December 31st. There is some good news and some bad news. So the good news is revenues are up relative to budget. The bad news is revenues are down compared to the prior year. So if you just look here at this line right here, it shows we have our revenues are above budget by about $1.2 million, but we're below last year by about $625,000. So we didn't do as bad as we thought we were going to do, but we aren't doing as well as we did last year, I guess is the basic for revenue overall. If you look at licenses, that includes business licenses, rental licenses, etc. You can see that we are about $136,000 above budget and about $114,000 above prior year. That is because we moved business license due date to August 1st. So we didn't collect the business licenses in May 1st of 2020 for the prior fiscal year. So it's all in this fiscal year. So we collected business licenses for this fiscal year. We just collected rental licenses. And then again, this May, we will have more business licenses again. So we'll have 2 years of business licenses in this fiscal year. Sales taxes have actually been up. They're about $275,000 above budget. They're still about $265,000 below last year, but that is mostly because of our mixture between pool and point of sale. Our point of sale revenue has been really strong. We have Home Depot, we have Walmart, we have Sam's, we have Schnucks and other grocery stores. So that point of sale has been really good for us. The overall pool numbers have not been as good, and that's where we've seen a larger decrease. So that mixture between the two has really helped us during this pandemic revenue-wise. I wanted to also point out that fines and public safety, if you look at that, we've only collected about $214,000, which is about $75,000 less than budget and about $71,000 less than what we had received last year. That is because we do not have any in-person court right now, and that has caused attendance to decline. I expect that number to stay low. We don't have any sort of a date as to when in-person court may come back online, which would probably have a better court attendance. So we'll expect that to be low through year end. And then finally, the last item I want to address in revenues is under other income, we have collected $1,000.
1 million.
I'm sorry?
1 million.
Oh, 1 million, sorry. Okay, we've collected $1 million, which is about $796,000 above budget. That is due mostly to, we collected $729,000 in CARES Act funds from St. Louis County with their municipal relief program. We're anticipating receiving another $729,000 within the first quarter of calendar year 2021. And we've also collected $20,000 in insurance proceeds, which were to do the repairs down and replace the glass and everything down at the police station, which has been completed. So that's what's making up those numbers for revenues, which look really good and we're really happy with. And just for a little bit of education, if you look here, I'm gonna try to make this a little bit bigger. Is that better? These budget numbers are the budget that was passed by the council. These do not include any budget amendments that have been passed yet this year. So these negative numbers or negative variances that we have, those have all been addressed by budget amendments already passed earlier this year. So, but they don't show on this because this is a comparison to budget, not comparison to budget forecast. And those budget amendments are part of the budget forecast. So I just don't want anybody to be alarmed with those negative variances. And then the last item I really want to address with you all tonight is this net change in fund balance, which shows us $878,000. And that looks really good, but that doesn't include some things. We had a retroactive pay adjustment that wasn't implemented until January for most employees. Plus also at that time, we did a removal of the 10% projected pay reduction for all employees. So that 10% is spread out through the whole year. So that number is going to dwindle. So if you take into effect that we have $878,000 right now in net change in fund balance, if you subtract out the $155,000 that we collected in business licenses in August that should have been for the prior year, and you subtract out the $729,000 in CARES funding from St. Louis County Municipal Relief Program, and you subtract out $20,000 in insurance proceeds, which was to go to actually replace the building costs over at the police station, which was not included in our original budget, then our actual net change in fund balance is a negative $26,000, which is still lower than what our budgeted amount for this time period was. We anticipated being pretty low, about 471,000, but we're only about negative 26,000. So we are doing better than projected, but we do not have a current windfall. Now, when we receive the other $729,000 from the CARES Act Municipal Relief Program from St. Louis County, that will be more additional money for our funds. The problem is our sales taxes are expected to lag through summer, if not even into the fall. And so because everyone is predicting that the economy should start to pick back up and get back more to normal spending with people back at work and places all opened up and everybody back to work and spending more at a normal regular rate by the end of 2021. So around December of 2021. So that means we have 6 months of a shortfall that we're going to be anticipating. And so I want everybody to be aware that that additional $729,000 that will be coming in from the CARES Fund for municipal relief, we really need to be conscious that that needs to actually last us, not just this fiscal year, but next fiscal year as well. So we want to make sure that we don't have to be in the same situation that we were in last year at the budget for this year at the budget, because we aren't being cognizant of what our decreases are going to be. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Lexi. Any questions for Lexi?
This is Fran. Lexi, I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a copy of the forecasted expenditures that we could compare to what you currently have up here of the actual budget?
I have not prepared a comparison to forecasted budget, but I guess I could prepare one. I just haven't yet.
Okay.
I usually do that at the budget session that we do here at the
Yeah.
meeting starting in April. So
Yeah.
that's usually when we have that. I could
Right. Yeah, I know we usually do it at budget. I was just, especially since, we've got the lapse in the sales tax and all of this. Now we've got the 720K, the first round of that. And then you mentioned the second. It would be nice to have that forecast to kind of look at it and compare to versus looking at what we expected to have. We can actually look at what we anticipate to have. That I would be interested in seeing that. And then my second question has to do with the 1.5 that Jeffrey has mentioned several times before about, the TIF fund. I mean, our funds getting reduced after a certain time. Is that going to impact us next year in the fiscal budget? Like, how will that 720 of the CARES Act impact that 1.5? Will it?
Are you referring to the debt service from the downtown TIF?
Yes.
Okay. That actually, when that expires, we will have that shortfall, and that part of that is going to have to be made up by general fund because we don't have anywhere else to make up that debt service. So that is going to be a continued ongoing discussion as to how we conserve money in the downtown TIF to be able to make our debt service, and or where we are going to pay that from and how we're going to pay that. So that will be a discussion we will have at the budget, yes.
And
But that's 2023, right?
Actually, it's fiscal 24.
Yes,
Okay.
it ends calendar 2023. It's going to be our fiscal 24 budget year. But we do need to always keep that in mind when we're budgeting, because we do not want to budget everything we have, because we need to be putting something away to be able to handle that debt service in fiscal 2024.
Right.
And-
That's why I was asking about the other 720 that's coming in. Like, how will that impact us? What will we need to look at to make sure that, we're keeping on top of everything in anticipation of that TIF fund going away?
Right. Well, and as I've said, it's really a matter of the council just being aware that that's out there, and when we're budgeting, to remember that we need to have a balanced budget, we need to save for the future, and so those are the two things. But we also need to be able to provide service. So it is kind of that juggling act, and it's just something that we're, like, I guess any household has to do, is juggle and figure out how we're going to make all of our ends meet, like everybody does at home. So
I would
Thank
say one
you.
thing to Councilwoman Griffith. You asked a great question in terms of forecast. And I can tell you that I'm sure that Lexi and I have had no fewer than a half a dozen conversations on this subject in just the last week. And that is, where will we end up at the end of the year? And we keep going back and forth between, we could have a loss of anywhere from $200,000 to $400,000. That's that you're literally kind of thumbnailing it, but that's where we're going to end up. We are not, when you discount out or adjust out the CARES Act dollars and say, what did we do on our own? And on our own, we're going to lose $200,000 to $400,000. Now, recognize that, we didn't unbalance or rebalance the budget on the backs of our employees either, as we had anticipated doing at the beginning of the fiscal year when we were considering a 10% rate reduction or furlough. So everybody from that perspective, all of our employees are whole, but the city is still going to experience an erosion in its reserves. Only question is how much.
Thank you. I didn't have any further questions.
Thank you, ma'am.
I was just going to add, if I, from what we've done in the past, we also have to keep in mind that when we start looking for that money to cover our debt requirements, we have to keep in mind too that we can't just pull it out of anywhere. It has to be legally bound to be used for that.
yes, that is correct. So there's certain limitations on some of our funds that we cannot use those funds for certain things. So we do have to be cognizant of that as well.
And in her presentation, Lexi did mention general funds.
Mhm.
Yep.
Any other questions for Lexi? Well, we'll turn it back to you, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lexi. At this time, we have a public hearing. City Manager, would you introduce your staff for the public hearing?
Yes, I'd be happy to. And I'll introduce Planning and Development Director Elliot Leeson. And I will I will start only by saying that, I apologize that this has come up so quickly, but this is not within our control. This is a situation that was presented to us by one of the businesses here in Ferguson, and our intense desire is to retain that business in the city of Ferguson, and we are doing everything we can to do that. And I'll turn it over to Director Leibson.
Thank you, Jeff. Mayor, members of council, this request tonight is for a temporary special use permit for Aaron's Rents to reopen at 10831 West Florissant Road. And the representative from the applicant is here tonight on the call and is available to answer any questions that you have that I may not be able to answer after my presentation. The applicant came to us after being told in mid-January by their landlord that they had till the end of the month to vacate their space in the middle of lease negotiations to renew their lease. They approached us the week after that, so that's the week of the 20th of January, to ask about zoning approval for the proposed site. And as an aside, I would just say they've been leasing this space for 15 years. And there are about 10 to 15, between 10 and 15 full equivalent employees in that business. When we were approached by the applicant, we immediately researched the zoning and informed them about the need for the special use permit and the fact that this is neither a listed, permitted, or special use in the new West Florissant corridor zoning district. What that means is that the proposed uses or zoning changes that are not in compliance with the new code are subject to review and recommendation by the West Florissant Corridor Advisory Board, which you may remember was created as part of the new zoning code. The advisory board has not met yet at all, and therefore it's not feasible for them to do so now with sufficient time to review this application and make the recommendation before the applicant has to vacate their existing space, because they got to be gone by the end of February from where they are now, period. We do not wish, as Jeff said, to lose an existing business of 15 years. So what we did instead was brought forward this case as a temporary, by which we mean 12 months, special use permit. And what that does is it gives the applicant sufficient breathing room to allow us, the applicant, and the West Florissant Corridor Advisory Board to find a long-term resolution to their situation. The applicant is proposing to move into a space formerly occupied by Rent-A-Center, which cuts down significantly on the improvement work that they need to do to occupy the space. But despite this, they will still take at least 2 weeks to refit the space if and when they are approved. Now, this proposed use complies with all other considerations for a special use permit. You know, that long list that we go through periodically when we go through a special use permit. I'm just going to leave it at they meet all the compliance criteria. A review of this application was undertaken by the Plan Commission on February 3rd of this year, and they voted unanimously to recommend approval to the council. Public notice was posted and mailed on the 26th of January and published in a paper record the following day. And to date, no comments have been received by staff for or against since that time. And this concludes my presentation. And I'll take any questions you may have.
So I do have some questions, Elliot. So my first question is there, have we identified any potential locations once this temporary situation is over in Ferguson that they could move into? I mean, I see heads nodding.
Yes, there is a site that they are looking at in that vicinity. It's not, I don't know that they have a lease signed, so I don't know that we can speak as to what it is. And we will also look at other sites just in case. But yes, that has been looked into, and there is a proposed landing spot for them if this is resolved in their favor.
Okay, so, and it is appropriate square footage for what they're accustomed to? Because I know
Yeah.
what we have right now as the temporary solution is not the accustomed square footage that they're used to.
No, and that is correct. The future space will meet their needs. The current space is basically what's available now.
Sure.
So that's, yeah.
So the other question I have is, we went through this whole long process of creating the new zoning codes for the West Florissant corridor. And we went through this whole process of getting it approved through all the different communities and so forth. One, when does that advisory board meet? I mean, because you referred to the fact that this came too quickly and the advisory board does not have the opportunity to meet to discuss it. So this is a special use temporary solution. And then two, we created this, or we were part of this new zoning ordinance in regards to West Florissant corridor to effectively appeal to businesses that, followed that long list of zone regulations. Now, Rent-A-Center was in that location prior to that new zoning. So it makes total sense where you guys are making the connection that Aaron Rents and Rent-A-Center in the same spot, great temporary use. I can see the special use logic to it. My concern is that whole zoning thing was created to appeal to a newer, more broader market, and to take away some of the historical demographics, because we actually, in our public comments about Burlington Coat Factory, we had a young lady that came on, and she was a Black lady, and she was very clear about what she did not want in the area, and she did not want any predatory mentality whatsoever to the smallest extent, because she didn't want that to attribute or come after her community. So that being said, I want to keep what she had to say valid. And I wonder if we are going to have any issues with the agreement that we currently have with Burlington, because they're coming in following these rules. So, I mean, is this going to, I do not want to lose Aaron Rents. They've been a long time partner of the city of Ferguson and our businesses, and they mean a lot to our community. So I don't want to lose them. I'm just simply asking, are we taking some chances here? Are we breaking rules that we just made? I'm concerned in that regard. And I understand that's why we're doing a special use and so forth. And I appreciate that fact. And I appreciate the fact that it's temporary. But I do think that these issues need to be addressed, because I'm not the only one who's having these questions. So I'm going to leave it at that for right now.
Okay, so there's 3 answers.
Good.
Okay. The first answer is to the first question, and the answer to that is as soon as possible. And by that, I mean the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership that funded the process to get this zoning passed was tasked with getting this board convened. They, for the last several months, have been swamped with other projects, and that's not to excuse it, but that's just where they were. Those have moved, are done, to the extent that one of the staff people at the partnership is taking responsibility for that. We spoke actually, I think it was yesterday, and she's going to be getting that moving as soon as possible. So unfortunately, I don't have a date, but we're not letting grass grow on that one.
Okay.
The second question, there's 2 answers. The first is, it's going to, that the temporary hearing, the temporary special use permit is designed to let the process be discussed and debated to answer those questions, however that gets answered, because that is, I was at that presentation. I remember the young woman's comments, and that there was quite a bit of discussion in the planning of this ordinance for, we have space and numerical limitations for a whole long list of various uses for to address that very concern. This is not one of them. And it was also not listed in the C2 planned commercial that the new zoning replaced. So that's a conversation that needs to happen.
Right.
The second answer to that is we are also going to look at we put out a request for proposals just this week to find a consultant to revise the zoning code as was budgeted, as you may be aware, to look at the entire zoning code and in how it interacts with each other. So that'll address it from a larger perspective. I know these are not definitive answers, but basically we are aware, and this gives us time to answer those things definitively.
Okay, and then the third one?
That was. So,
well, is this going, the third, what I was wanted to hear is this going to affect at all our agreement with Burlington?
I don't think so, because they're not looking for things like this. That and if uses come up that are on the list that are undesirable or less desirable, we make it very clear that that's not a use that we're looking for. And I should tell you, because I had this conversation just this week, that they have more commitments to that space, or they have more interest in the space than they have space to lease. So there's a certain amount of luxury of choice that they have for the tenants that they're looking for.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you addressing those things, and I understand that it's a process that's moving on various wheels at the same time. So at least you have identified and acknowledged that those things are moving, and it answers the concerns that I and other people want to hear, that it's not just stalemated.
Heather, you had your hand up.
My question was, like, the landlord that forced them to vacate. I mean, yeah. I'd like to kind of talk about that. Is that something that was just between the two parties, or is that like that whole building, or that concerned me?
It's just those two parties, and that's really, unless either side came to us and said, "City, this is your part of the reason," we really have no say on that.
Okay.
Private transaction.
I can speak to that if you have any questions.
One more question from the council, Fran Griffin.
I was just going to say that I'm a little conflicted, because on one hand, I represent I'm the city council that sits on the planning commission. So I had an opportunity to listen to the conversation that was had during that planning committee, and they did ultimately all choose to support the special permit. On the other hand, touching on what Linda said, that's a very valid concern. Businesses in our community that have predatory practices. I mean, I would be interested in finding out, what kind of plans the business has in terms of how we make, how we can provide services to the community without taxing them an arm and a leg and putting them, further. They're paying more money on interest than it is for the cost of the furniture or the whatever it is that they're purchasing. So I would be interested in learning of any processes or plans to address that, so that we don't, so we can retain the business from a city council perspective. Yes, I want to have businesses in our community, but I want to actually, when we do know that those businesses have a negative impact, they're able to provide services, but overall have a negative impact on our community, how we can work together to kind of address those and move forward so we can continue doing business with each other and providing services to our community. So on this, I would be definitely interested in hearing from the rest of the council. You all are going to be the ones to decide how that works. And I do want to acknowledge that that is something that we have to pay attention to when we work this process. Sometimes money is good, but sometimes, I mean, if you're selling your, I'm just saying. So I would love to hear from everybody else and see what everybody else says. Thank you.
I think it's personal choice. I mean, I've been living errands past every day going to work. If you feel to go there, you can go there. You know, every store be simply a predator. I can walk in Walmart with a list. I'm talking about 3 things. I come out with 2 shopping carts. I don't know how it happened. Every single time, 2 things end up being a whole. For the $10, I spent $100. It just happens. You know, sometimes people got to be their own responsible for. Must be responsible for their own actions. You gotta let adults be adults.
Mayor,
that's my opinion.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
if I may, the applicant is here on the call this
Right,
evening.
I see him. Okay, introduce him, please.
Yeah, Mr. Ryan Duty, who's the Director of Real Estate Operations for Aaron's. Ryan, I can't see you, but I know you're on there. Would you be able to say a few things?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll address your plan. Yeah, we've got, the first question was about the landlord. Yeah, it was a negotiation. I've been with Aaron's for 18 years and never had a situation like this. We came to terms with the landlord and he came back to us and signed another user and told us about it with a 30-day notice to vacate. We negotiated in good faith, had a lease amendment going. So that answers, hopefully that answers that. It was something we would not do. We do plan to stay in the city of Ferguson if this gets approved. Elliot did. We're looking to go hopefully to a much bigger location and have a newer store concept that we're going to roll out. It's very similar, very located. The location that we're looking at is very close to where we're going temporarily. I'll just say that, into a vacant space. To answer your question about the industry, the rent-own industry, we are a completely different company than Rent-A-Center, which is a little bit different. We're bigger. You don't own the product until your last payment. We take payment holidays. We do everything we can for the customer to obtain ownership. And the rent-to-own business has gotten a bad name over the years. They were smaller stores, and Aaron's came in and changed the industry. We treated customers completely different. We recognize that not everybody has perfect credit, and we do everything we can to work with them. And then as far as the rent-to-own industry, it's kind of hidden. If you go to Lowe's, Big Lots, a jewelry store, Home Depot, Best Buy, they all do rent-to-own contracts if you don't get approved through the third-party financing. What happens is a third-party company will come in, give the money, and turn that into a rent-to-own contract. So the rent-to-own industry is all around, whether you see it or not. We just specialize in that. And we do make most of our furniture is our #1 product. It's made in the United States, it's made in South Georgia, 4 manufacturing plants. And again, I'm doing everything I can to try to get this store, save the store. We have 11 employees there right now.
Well, I appreciate those comments. That helps me a lot better with the rent-to-own concept. Fran?
Yes.
What do you think? Do you have any other questions?
I mean, so you're different. I hear that you're different. I'm wondering what the interest rate, what's your average interest rate on?
We don't charge interest. You don't obtain ownership to your last payment. So you make payments on the product. And then, so when you go to Best Buy and you break that television set in the parking lot, you own it. At Aaron's, that television set breaks, you do not own it. You own it on your last payment. So there's no interest.
Okay.
That's better than Lowe's, trust me.
And we also do operate 120 days, same as cash as well.
Okay.
Trust me, we do everything for our customer to make sure they can own it, and because we want them to come back and get something else.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. That definitely helped as well. Thank you.
Great.
Clerk Pittman, do we have anyone who has submitted questions or comments or would like to speak in this public hearing?
I hadn't received any interest, no.
Okay, after not receiving any interest, I am going to close this public hearing. We are now going to move to our consent agenda. We have regular meeting minutes, January the 12th, minutes, January the 26th, and special meeting minutes, January the 26th. Are there any corrections?
There's not a correction, but I have a question. Did we ever get the transcribed from Octavia that was requested from the December meeting?
It's included in the minutes and it's on page, it's closer to the end where you had that conversation. So it's gonna
Page 5.
Yeah, page 5
Of
of the minutes from January 12th.
okay.
And you had the specific section that you wanted listed verbatim. And so I did go back and do that, and it's under unfinished business.
I looked and looked all week and did not find it, so I appreciate that. I'll go look again.
I have 2 corrections for you, Octavia.
Okay.
For January the 12th, you have he immediately led. It should be she. And on January 26th, you also have he immediately led.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there a motion in a second?
So move. Oh, sorry.
Councilman Fry moved. Is there a second?
Second.
2 seconds by Councilwoman Fran Griffin and Tony Burrow. Are you ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are accepted. We have, right now, we have boards and commissions. We have an appointment. Courtney Olmsted for the library board, and I had an opportunity to talk with her on yesterday. We had a great conversation, and I am appointing her to the library board. Congratulations, Courtney.
This is Tony Burrow. Courtney, I am the liaison here on the council for this County Ferguson Library. I thank you for applying. I have spoken to the board about your coming on board, and everybody is excited. And thank you so very much.
There she is.
Sorry.
No
Thank
problem.
you. I'm
Welcome.
super
Welcome.
excited to serve and to help with the library and the community.
Okay, you'll be getting
you,
something
Courtney.
from me tomorrow. I'll send you something tomorrow. And thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So ordered. Courtney Olmsted is on the library board. So glad to have you. The next item is bill requesting first reading. Bill number 7201. Without objection, we're introduced by council members present. Attorney Carey, would you please read the bill by title only?
Yes, ma'am. Bill number 7201. An ordinance of the city of Ferguson, Missouri, granting a temporary special use permit to Aaron's Inc. for the purpose of operating a rent-to-own store at 10831 West Florissant Road, subject to the conditions, restrictions, and requirements set forth herein.
Interim City Manager Bloom, you have any further explanation?
Mayor, no, I do not. I think they covered everything during the hearing.
Okay, great. At this time, no action will be taken for the first reading. We move to unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business?
Mayor, don't we have new business?
We have unfinished and new business.
Okay.
I think new business is first, is it?
Yes.
No unfinished business.
We have unfinished and new business. Is the new business first or the unfinished business first?
Unfinished businesses first.
So under unfinished business, we already talked about the public awareness campaign, which the Parks and Rec and the police department are working in conjunction on. So that's awesome. That answers that question. And then can we discuss the Juneteenth request? I know we had asked for an economic impact on that. Can you address that, Mr. Bloom?
I'd be happy to. Thank you very much. As I indicated in my memo, normally when you increase the number of holidays, all you're really doing is creating an opportunity cost because normally people would be working. In our particular case, because we have two groups that work shift work throughout the week, 24/7, 365, there's an actual cost associated with any additional holiday that the city council would choose to award. And so in total, our costs are about, I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry, but it was like $35,000. But the real cost there is we will spend an additional $25,000 for a holiday. So that covers the Juneteenth. Do you want me to also address the other item, the COVID sick pay economic impact?
Well, I would just say, yeah, because then we can kind of put those two in comparison because we have to prioritize, correct?
Yeah. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And the bigger issue, or I'm sorry, it's not necessarily a bigger issue, but an issue that I certainly see as potentially difficult for the city is the possibility of people running out of time. The concern that I have with respect to the pandemic is we don't know when this is going to end. We don't know what the impact is going to be on individuals. You can be, as the chief indicated earlier, you can be vaccinated and still be a carrier. And so if you are vaccinated and you are in contact with someone who tests positive, at that point in time, you're still carrying the virus with you and or potentially are carrying the virus with you. And so consequently, you're going to have to quarantine. And we have groups that cannot work from home. And so consequently, they will end up having to sit at home during the quarantine period. And my concern is that they're going to run out of sick leave if they're newer employees. They don't have a whole lot of vacation if they're a newer employee. And so at that point in time, they have no safety net. And so one of the things that I wanted to do with this sick leave is to provide that safety net. And so note that they would have to erode or use all of their other paid time off first. And then at that point in time, they would be eligible for this sick leave. The real problem is we have no idea how to measure that. As I indicated to you, last year, there were a number of different federal codes that we were using to accumulate sick leave or paid time off of employees. And 59 of our employees, over half, utilized those different codes to the tune of about $60,000. Now, there were a lot of different factors in that, as opposed to what I've defined as a very narrow field of focus. How much that would end up costing the city is still very much a guess, but it's probably somewhere in the order of $20,000 to $40,000. Hopefully it's on the low end. As there are more vaccinations, you're going to have fewer people being infected. And at that point in time, this becomes less relevant. But this is, I believe, a need that we have immediately, as opposed to thinking about our overall benefit package and whether or not we add another holiday. And so that's why I really wanted to bring it to the council's attention that I don't like to see these as competing. I see the COVID sick leave as a more immediate need, and the decision about whether or not we add an additional holiday as a longer term need.
So as a friendly compromise, so to speak, since we did acknowledge it last year and it was a very positive moment in our city, by acknowledging it, I think it's something we need to continue to do so. So what I would suggest or what I would ask is, again, I guess it's putting more on the Parks and Rec, but I would like to see us get with Parks and Rec. Council may throw in some ideas as well. But I want to see us create an acknowledgement, celebration, awareness campaign for Juneteenth in Ferguson, something that's citywide. Maybe it's not so much a paid holiday because right now we need to be frugal. But I do think we could do something within our departments. We could do something from City Hall. We could do something from the police department. We could do something from the fire department. We could do something from the council as a whole. Maybe, we've done awareness things and candlelights and we've done a lot of things in this community for a variety of reasons. So I think this is something that we need to put on the radar and keep and put it on the awareness calendar.
Maybe the cheapest way, the easiest way is to have a barbecue at 501 or at the city hall.
We got to worry
I think
about.
that'd be a great idea.
We still have to worry about social distancing, but yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah, no mask, no burger.
Well,
Yeah.
I saw a headline today that said we will have COVID forever.
I think too, with the group that Byron is the liaison for, I think that if they were to put their heads together, just like what Byron just did, I think that they could come up with a plethora of things that could be done. I don't mean to put that on your plate, Byron, but I think your group would be the best group to use to seek this out. I like the idea about the 501 picnic. I think that'd be great. We can do social distancing with that. I think that's a great idea. And we do have to be frugal. I mean, every damn counts. So if you got to bring your own bird, so whatever we got to do.
Bring your own mustard.
Yep.
But I do think that that's something that we could look into and we can create. I mean, we create Northern Lights, we create 4th of July, we create all kinds of things. So we can create some type of a community celebration and we can be an example to the rest of the United States.
You're right, because last year we spent about, what was it, like $30,000 on the 4th of July? What was it? What's the amount that we generally spend every year?
No, we don't.
Somewhere around there.
Well,
Somewhere around there.
Maybe in the past, but we sure didn't spend
not
last year.
last year.
Not
Not
last
last
year.
year
We didn't
before.
have
Not
4th of
last year,
July,
but the year before.
last.
Yeah, the year
I'm just
before
saying.
we didn't spend that kind of money the year before.
My question is, why we spend that much money for July anyway? Because they're going to be shooting regardless. Trust me, over here, they're always going to be shooting. It starts like probably what? Not July, what? Oh, what? June 30th or through 29th. They start. Since it goes on sale, buy one get 5 free. It's on and popping all night long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
We
next.
can certainly put our heads together and interact with Councilman Fry's group as well and come up with some ideas.
The Human Rights Commission.
Yeah. And Proud might be part of that too. They might be interested. The other thing I was going to say was our third thing under unfinished business was I had requested that we kind of get an economic impact on the reduction of the liquor license fees. What came about from that?
Yeah, we broke it down into 2 pieces, but essentially they were pretty equivalent as a matter of circumstance. But with respect to restaurants in particular, the annual fees are about $9,000 in total. So then the question becomes, over what period of time do you want to apportion that? Whether it's 1 year or 2 years or half of 2 years equals a year. I would leave it to the council in terms of what they think is fair for the restaurants in the city.
Well, I would say that, there's a couple thoughts there. The first thought that comes to mind for me is, when did we, from the day that they were shut down, when the doors were closed for indoor dining, you can look at that. You can kind of create a formula. I mean, you're the math guy, you and Lexi are the math people. I mean, we can create a formula because that's 100% loss, right? And then when you go to 25%, that's still 75% loss. So, I mean, you're looking at percentages that way, or you could do an across the board thing that's, hopefully fair to everybody, to, giving them a third, a fourth, half of their licensing fee back during this year, and then maybe going forward, create a formula at that point. I don't want this to go, well, we don't know what to do, so we're going to leave it up to you guys, and then it falls through the cracks. I want to make a decision, and I want to move forward because I want to have action that shows partnership with these businesses and what they've lost. I mean, we as business owners who have lost have had enough talk in our face. It's just noise. Actually do something to help, and we can do it. And I would say we need to set a time limit on this, and we need to make a decision either tonight or by the end of the month of February, and we need to have checks out by mid-March.
Let me answer your question this way, Councilwoman.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking, actually, Lexi and I just had this conversation this afternoon. Relatively speaking, we're probably going to be down $1 million in revenues. So from a total revenue perspective, or even a total revenue loss perspective, $9,000 is not quite a rounding error, but it gets really close. So from that perspective, I'd wipe the slate clean as far as 2021 is concerned. And what then we can do is, this virus, this pandemic is a moving target right now. And what we can do is take up this conversation somewhere in the budget review process when we have a lot more information about what 2022 is going to look like.
So you're saying the $9,000 is the total amount across the city, 100%, everybody included?
For restaurants.
What about our bars? What about the Montrez and the Marley?
It would include those, yes. What's not included in that is package stores. So,
well, packaged liquor is doing great.
And I understand that, which is why I only gave you the bars and restaurants.
Well, then I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, Linda, I had a question. Were you also including new businesses that are interested in coming into the city of Ferguson and opening up for 2021?
No,
are these just existing businesses as of right now? Because everybody's going through COVID. So I'm just wondering if that only applies to existing ones or people that are wanting to do business with the city of Ferguson.
So to answer your question, my intention, Fran, was to address the businesses that have been affected since February of 2020 to current. So, so if we went February to February 2020 to February 2021, that would be my concentration. So that being said, I'm going to put it out there that I would like to make a motion that we go ahead.
I got one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Not only restaurants been affected, but you have salons that were totally closed too.
But they didn't.
They could not open either.
Well, I know I went to my salon, they were open. It was COVID restricted policies.
Yeah, you got
other Ferguson.
And then you've got other businesses that have, they've remained open, but they are still, to Linda's point and to Ella's point, they're still impacted. And so I guess that would, for me, that would be a question for Apollo is, can we, I mean, I know we can specifically identify certain entities and say, this is what we want them to do, but would that be considered a conflict if we don't provide that to all of the existing businesses, if we don't provide that opportunity to all of the existing businesses?
Yeah, I think you want to, I don't necessarily know it would be considered a conflict, but you certainly.
Can't hear
Your
you.
mic.
Can't hear you.
How about now?
Perfect.
All right. I don't necessarily know it would be a conflict, but you certainly want to consider ways, if you can, to provide that benefit to all businesses, but not necessarily a conflict. But I would advise approaching it in a manner to where you could potentially provide that benefit to all businesses.
So any existing business in the city of Ferguson that suffered as a result of COVID. Okay, thank you.
I know Councilwoman Robinette, you have been trying to jump in for a minute.
I was just going to say, some of these businesses have been receiving the grants and the payouts. I think this probably merits further discussion, and we should not make a decision wholesale right now. I want to make sure that we're fair to all of our businesses and look at it holistically. But I get the initial ask. I just like to kind of look at it holistically across our businesses.
So if we're looking at it holistically, what exactly are we questioning? Because like I said before, I don't have a problem with that. I just don't want this to fall through the cracks. I don't want us to get caught up in the inertia of questioning things to the point that it doesn't move forward. So what kind of questions as a council do we want answered by the next council meeting so that we can move forward on a decision?
Can I just say this? I completely understand what Linda's talking about. I've been waiting for 2 months just for a list of the businesses that we have, and I haven't gotten it yet. I've even had the council to say that's something I was going to get, and I still don't have it. And so it is stopping me from even forming a commission. It's stopping us from doing a lot of things. So what Linda is saying is absolutely true. It can become minutia, and we need to have some concrete. We don't have, do any of you have a list of all the businesses that are in this city? Do we have the addresses? No.
No.
We don't have any of that. And so to your point, Heather, we have to do this holistically. And we start with this council having a list of where are these businesses, who are they, who's the owners, what's the address, all of that. A roster, if you will. Something as simple as a roster this council does not have.
Okay, Stephen.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Stephen.
No problem. We do need to assess the impact that COVID has had on our operating and wanting to operate businesses, so we can best incentivize those that we already have and keep them around. We definitely want to look at that. We do have things that fall to the wayside, just as the nature of government and the nature of human beings operating. So we need to put timelines. We have a budget meeting coming up, and we're going to be assessing that, and we need to have that prior, since we were dealing with the prior year, setting that up. But we need all of the tools and all the data to make the best decisions on how we can best incentivize all of our businesses to operate and continue to operate going forward.
Fran.
Oh, I was just going to suggest possibly a working session, just listening to Linda, what she's talking about, a deadline, a working session where on that day or prior to, I don't care if it's a day or two or a couple of days or whenever, we set a date where we can have the information that Stephen is talking about that we need to make to look, the stuff that Ms. Tony is talking about, the list of businesses, which I don't think in this particular case kind of applies to the subject matter, but it is related. And then we can sit down and kind of go over Linda, those are the two concerns that I had. One, the question was about the incoming businesses, and it was also about if it was going to apply to all of them, because that was a concern of mine. Outside of that, I would like to find it and hope that we can all put our heads together to kind of figure out what we can do if we just listen to each other and kind of take into everybody's, questions and then make something out of that. So I will be open to sitting down and working with you.
The other thing I will also remind everyone is that when this was initially brought to us, it was brought to us by a business owner. I'm in a meeting. It was brought to me by a business owner who brought it to, not to me, brought to us by a business owner who had seen that the Eureka City Council had already done this. So we do have examples. So I would ask that maybe our staff reach out to Eureka City Council or reach out to Eureka City staff, find out what were their questions. How did they come about this decision? Because it's already been done by one city, and it doesn't mean we're going to do the same thing, but to answer Heather's questions, let's look at all of this and the council's questions. Maybe that's a good starting point.
Heather?
I would echo Fran's suggestion that we should have a working session possibly before our next council meeting, and that's an open working session, everything that we're talking about. And I would encourage business owners to reach out to us and give their concerns so we have a little more input from our business owners. And I'm not trying to inundate city staff, so I'm like, direct it to us, direct your comments, and we'll pull them together, and then we'll hash it out.
And to just reinforce what Councilwoman Robinette is saying, for anybody who's listening who wants to pass this information along, hey, send an email to the council. Just remember, it's our first initial, our last name, @fergusoncity.com. You can reach any of us that way.
Okay, we will schedule a work session before the next council meeting. Okay, next item under unfinished business.
I have something for unfinished business, Mayor. And for the unfinished business, I want to go back to, very quickly, I've been taking some notes while we were talking. And just over the past few years, there have been great turnover at the city staff and a great loss of institutional knowledge. We've discussed that many times about procedures and common practices of running this city. There's a lack of mutual understanding within the staff and between council members as to how we should be interacting with each other and how we should operate in the course of our duties. For that reason, I've consistently asked about a written set of policies and procedures known as SOPs, Standard Operating Procedures, as to how the council should act and interact with each other, with the citizens and with the staff. This lack of mutual understanding and set of expectations has created a great deal of frustration in meetings and among city staff and city council. I think it is very vitally important that we move, potentially starting with an examination of what other communities do as it relates to a written set of procedures, SOPs. We have had 2 sessions for SOP, and we've been waiting on 2 responses, one from Jeff and one from you, Alan, and we haven't gotten them yet. And so I'm going to pose a question to Octavia and ask you, Octavia, if you have any information or knowledge of any rules of conduct or operating procedures that other cities and councils are using, just like what we talked about just now in the last issue. Do you have any contacts at other cities about their ideas about inquiring about how cities do and how they define the rules and procedures that their city councils and administrations use? Do you have any of that?
So quite naturally, I have contacts with other cities, but I haven't had any conversations about, their rules and procedures as it relates to their city council. I will say this, I guess to kind of get you guys started, this isn't a new conversation for this council. some time ago, the council put together a code of conduct. And I think I sent that out to you. It was never adopted. It hadn't been passed. I think, the council might have just been discussing it, and it was a previous council. So at this point, I'm not even sure how many of these members were on the board at the time. But I did send that out to you guys some time ago when we started the conversation about the SOP. So I can send that back out again to refresh everybody. I can send out the information that I sent then, I guess, just to kind of refresh everybody on where we were, or I guess what you had available to look at when you had that conversation.
Right. And I think what came of that, we were looking at it and we have a different set of issues now, especially with so much of the turnover and the lack of transfer of information and knowledge. So what I would make a motion right now that I move that the city clerk be directed to contact the municipal league. They have all kinds of information like this. I know that for myself, and the city clerk association, and research other written rules and procedures and codes and conducts that other communities in the region or state are using. And I don't think that this problem that we're having here is unique to just us. I think other people probably have gone through this and have made some decisions on what to do. So I'm making that motion now. And I would like that, like what Linda was saying, I don't want this to take as long as we've been doing it, because I've been asking for this SOP for almost 3 years. And so what we can do is, if you could just, Octavia, bring it to maybe on the 19th, or whenever we decide to have this meeting before the next meeting, if you could get that together, at which time the council can review and discuss formulating similar procedures and codes or SOPs and interaction that other city members could do and council members amongst themselves. We can do that. So that's the motion that I'm making. If I could get a second on that motion.
Second.
Then I'm going home. Okay, hold on 1 second, sweetie.
So that I'm clear, because you said a lot, and I'm not sure if all of it is in the motion. But so that I completely understand, the motion is that the city clerk contact the municipal league and other city clerks for sample codes of conduct.
Yes, and SOPs. We're really looking for SOPs. We need a standard operating procedure. We are just running amok, and I think that we need to circle the wagons, and that's going to take an SOP. And I think Fran and Stephen, I don't want to just call you guys out. I think you and Linda, I think we have all had a look-see at the last 2 meetings, and we were just about there, but we have not heard from Ella and from Jeff on the question that was put to them at the last SOP. So we're just out here hanging. So I think we need a motion to get something done.
Which you did, and I second already.
Okay.
I have not acknowledged anyone for a motion. I'm still the chair.
Okay. We're still the council.
And I know, and I do understand that too.
So Octavia, you were asking me a question. Let's go back then, Ella, I'll back it up. Octavia, pose your question to me again so we can get straight on where Ella should be. So I want to back that up. So would you start that question over again for me, what you think the motion is?
My question is for clarity on what the motion was, and it's that the city clerk contact the municipal league and other clerks for sample codes of conduct and standard operating procedures.
That's exactly what the motion is.
It's a motion been placed on the floor for Octavia to contact
the municipal league and other
the municipal leagues in the city, the clerks association. I think that's what she's looking for.
Mm-hmm.
The clerks association for addition of information on code of conduct.
For examples of other codes of conduct and SOPs within their city.
If you give me an opportunity to finish, Linda, I can get there. To talk to the Clerk Association for Code of Conduct or either any SOPs. Is there a second?
Second.
Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
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 Any nays?
Nay.
We have 2. The ayes have it, so ordered. The next item on unfinished business.
So I'm not really sure. I'm going to just put it out there and you as a council can tell me where it should go nicely. So I was going to put out as new business, but then when I started doing some research, it's already in our in our ordinances. So what I'm referring to is that we have, I've had some citizens contact me regarding political signs that are up in their neighborhoods. We have a sign that's up in the Jeske neighborhood that is against Trump supporters, very vulgar. And then we also have a sign on Hudson that supports Trump, that offends other people. And unfortunately, the people who had, everybody has the right to their version of life during a campaign. But the key word here is during a campaign. The campaign is now over. And so the signs really need to come down. And I was going to make a motion that we have an ordinance that these signs come down, but I don't have to, because currently in our Sydney ordinance in section 36-6, number 5, it says election signs may be erected within a period extending 120 days prior to and 10 days after any election held within St. Louis County with the property owner's permission. So it's already there. So I guess what I'm wanting to put out there is that we need, or maybe we need some assistance or some conversation, but I think that something needs to go out to these homes that it is now time to take their signs down. It's 10 days, it's well past 10 days since the presidential inauguration. So maybe it's time we take these signs down and we all get back to normal.
Wouldn't that fall under code violation, Jeffrey?
I would think so. But I mean, I don't think we ever populated that awareness to our community because I don't think we've been through this before.
Well, you have a couple of people who are being harassed.
Yes.
Chief Armstrong, has someone contacted you?
They have.
He's muted.
Yes, somebody.
Okay.
Yes, somebody did call in about receiving a letter about their sign. Yes, ma'am.
So in an effort, I guess, to keep it fair across the board, pro-Trump, anti-Trump, pro-Biden, anti-Biden, the presidential election has completed, the inauguration has happened, and we need to make some kind of an awareness to citizens that their signs need to come down. It's well past the 10-day limit after a political campaign.
And
Any help manager?
And that's a code violation. And we'll include it in the list of tasks that the code enforcement officers are already pursuing.
Well, maybe, and I'm just going to ask this city manager, could we possibly just give them a code warning? Because I'm sure.
And ma'am, that is exactly what tends to happen is they will make a visit to whoever has that issue, and they will say, you have 10 days to rectify this. And if you don't, then we'll come back and cite you. And so, and that's what we'll do. And that's no different than most of the other code violations that we have.
And that's like a door hanger or a letter in the mail, but
if they are not
both,
present,
yeah.
when we go to the property, yes, then we leave a door hanger saying that we were there and what the issues are.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other unfinished business? If not, we move to new business.
I have new business, Mayor.
Okay.
And I'm gonna make this a motion, so I'll go slow for Octavia's benefit so that she can write it down. The purpose is I started it off earlier when we got started this evening about the declaration, the emergency order, and why this city has one. I'll skip to the chase and I'll let it be known that we are following the county's order. And if we, I'm just gonna say, I've worked 2 tornadoes in this city and we didn't have an emergency order. I've worked the unrest in the city. We didn't have an emergency order. We had a short emergency order right at the beginning of the pandemic. But now we have this order that has not been updated since it got started. We are under the rules and regulations of the county executive's office. And so I want to make a motion that the city council declare that the state of civil emergency no longer exists within the city limits of the city of Ferguson, and that city manager and staff will continue to follow the directions and leadership of the county executive and the county health department in relations to public health and the corona pandemic. Now, what I would like to do is in this emergency order that is in place right now, until the existing order that I'm about to say that we need is updated with full council input. Everybody on the council, not a situation where we couldn't be reached and there was no phone or no email or electronic proof that we even had been attempted to be reached. We need an order that everybody on this council has an input on, and that anything less than that is unlawful. So I'm thinking that we need to end this order and produce an existing order if we think we need to have an order. Because what happens is if we check the charter, we have major seizures where extraordinary power is given to the mayor, that the powers that are usually reserved for the city administration and can be exercised by the city administrators and with the consultation of us, the council. And all you have to do is pull up the charter. It's right there for you. I can give you the page number. And it's too much. It's too much to have that we're living by an order that was not sanctioned by the whole council. That's number one. Number two, we should be following what's the it has never been even updated. And we should be following the county executive's order. Octavia, did you get that all down? Okay. So I'm making a motion that we dispense with
Not
this.
so fast.
Wait. Other
Okay.
people want to talk about this too. Because
Okay, I'm just talking to Octavia so that we're clear on what she wrote down. I'm not trying to put a motion on the floor right now. So I will wait for you, Byron. I'm just making sure that Octavia got what we want. Octavia, can you read it to me?
What I think I heard was the city council declared that the state of emergency no longer exists, and the city staff follow St. Louis County and Department of Health direction to end the current declaration and to create an order with the full council's input.
And I think you left out the point, if they're with what we need to have in it, because there's confusion still with, so I'm just giving you this, Octavia, so you can figure it out. That we still have confusion. We're going to end up with a lawsuit for different people not understanding what the different restaurants can do, what the social gatherings can do. There's confusion from this declaration. So I think we need to clarify that. So would you add that in and then read it back to me?
The only with what we need to have in it part?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So the city council declared that the state of emergency no longer exists, and city staff follow St. Louis County and Department of Health direction to end current declaration and to create an order with full council input with what we need to have in it.
Right.
Byron.
The Honorable Sam Page is not the mayor of Ferguson. The Honorable Sam Page does not live in Ferguson. We have a mayor for a reason, to handle our business. St. Louis County is very large. What, 4 million people, 4.5? He's not in charge of Ferguson. If he was, Elizabeth wouldn't be so messed up, because that's part of the county, that is Ferguson. Certain situations, we need one person, one voice to make the decisions. The elected mayor of Ferguson, Missouri. When we are the council, we give suggestions. You can't wait for everybody to come in and jump on board. A leader must be a leader. They must make the hard decisions, and we follow the decisions. Every day is something new, something different. You can't wait for everyone. There's no such thing as, I love Sam Page, but guess what? He's not in charge of Ferguson. We are. We need a mayor to do our duties as a mayor, to take care of us, our individual town. He has his decisions, we go with it. Sometimes it must be modified for our situation. That's how things go. The mayor, oh, sorry.
No, when Byron get finished, Heather. Okay, Byron, continue.
I'm saying we need, this ain't making any sense to me. The mayor must do the mayor's job. I got plenty of things James sent prior about duties and unrest. Folks, if you fail to read the information, that's on you. That's your own personal responsibility. People can't ask you everything. You need one leader, one voice to lead Ferguson, period. On you, Heather.
So the structure of our actual city council is that the mayor is the lead, but doesn't have veto power. It's 1/7 of the vote of council. We all have equal, say in what we're passing. And I'm not discounting, what Mayor Jones that you've done. What James did in the past, the former Mayor Knowles, I think we were, as a council, given more of a heads up of what was coming that we were not getting so much now. And I think that's where some frustration comes out. But like, as far as this declaration of the state of emergency goes, it should be updated and it should have input from all of council, and we should agree that this is what we're doing, that we all saw it and agreed to it, because this is from council as a whole. So that's just my 2 cents.
I would agree with that. And I would also, Byron, I would also point out to you, sir, that, this needs to be updated. It needs to have full council agreement. And in regards to, until that's done, we fall under the St. Louis County procedures. And even the first, let's see, the second line on the current one says that the community center follows St. Louis County mandates. Recreations activities follow St. Louis County mandates. Facility rentals follow St. Louis County mandates. Meetings and compelling municipal court follows St. Louis County mandates. I mean, community events follow St. Louis County mandates. I mean, we just need to update it regarding what falls under Ferguson. We need to do it as a group and a community, as a group agreement. And already more than half of this falls under St. Louis County agreement. So we're not changing that fact, and it's already built in.
So I have a question. I'm sorry, Linda. I didn't want to
No,
interrupt.
I'm done.
I have a couple questions, and then I just wanted to make a comment. The first question is, Mayor Jones, there's obviously a reason why you felt the need to have an emergency order in place. What do you feel, why do you feel that there is still a need for us to have one in place? That's the first question. And then the second is, instead of completely doing away with it, what I'm hearing from the majority of council is that it simply needs to be updated. So I'm just wondering, why is the call being made for complete obliteration of the emergency order and then reissuing a new one versus just making an update?
Number one is the emergency order. Our COVID numbers were rising and they were rising at a rapid rate. Right now, as of Sunday, we had a Super Bowl and it has the potential of being a super spreader. Number two is that we have a new strain, variant of the COVID-19, the coronavirus it's out of Africa and is right now in Missouri. And we don't know how fast and how rapidly it's going to reach St. Louis. So the state of emergency is there for that purpose. And I see it being there for the next couple of weeks until after we get over this potential super spreader from the Super Bowl. The state of emergency was not put in just to hamper somebody or whatever somebody, I don't know what you're thinking. I'm not gonna even try, but it was to protect the people of Ferguson. And we were moving in a negative way and it was alarming. And now we just beginning to get it under control and it needs to stay there until we finish this potential super spreader from the Super Bowl and this new strain that's moving rapidly in Missouri.
Also, Mayor, there's 2 new strains. One from UK.
2 new strains, okay.
UK and South Africa.
And I think that, Fran, I think too, what you're hearing is that you can do it one of 2 ways. You can revoke this particular emergency order, create a new one. And in the meanwhile, while we're creating the new one with full council agreement, we fall under the St. Louis County mandates. And the point that I was making is that we're currently under St. Louis County mandates no matter what. So Byron, I appreciate what you're saying, but we are part of St. Louis County. We fall under their mandates. And then we also have our own, which is what this emergency order. And, you know, you said yourself, Mayor Jones, when you and I were discussing this a couple weeks back, that, you know, you were going to change it and that we were following St. Louis County mandates and we were going to follow their changes. So, you know, they're making changes. So it's time for us we can do it one of 2 ways. We revoke this and we start again and we maintain the emergency order, because you're right. Nobody on this council is thinking that there's no emergency. Nobody on this council is wanting to put anybody's health in jeopardy. Nobody on this council wants anybody to get hurt. I mean, we totally agree with you on all those points. All we're saying is there's one of 2 ways to do it. Revoke it, create a new one with full county participation, or update this one with full county council participation.
And Sister Ella, I may say,
I'm talking to Apollo.
Yes, ma'am.
Your thoughts?
Well, so, you know, this is obviously, you know, the mayor, you know, you have the right to issue the order, but the council does have the right to, you know, revoke the order. So, I mean, to me, a happy compromise would be to update the order to make sure that the council is, you know, satisfied with the order that's there, as opposed to, you know, the diametrically opposed, well, I can create it and then you guys can cancel it. And then, you know, just seems we should meet in the middle and, you know, work that out.
Okay, so
I have a comment, Ella.
Okay.
Today, in a meeting with the Alliance, you gave all kind of information about how wonderful we were doing, and you gave actual numbers from the fire chief of how well we were doing here, and not a word about that we were being hampered by any new strands or anything such as that. And so from less than 8 hours, it's like we're in a state of emergency right now. We are following the mandate of the county, and that's been said from 2 or 3 people. And there are, and I'll use some numbers, millions of people in this state that are following those same mandates. And I had mentioned at the last meeting, this last council meeting, that you could go out to the county executive's office on a weekly basis. He's updating. I remember you saying they got problems of their own or something to that matter. Everybody's got problems. I didn't pay any attention to that. But I'm telling you that if millions of people are following that mandate, the main thing that's wrong with this mandate is it is not one voice that needs to be had when this is put into place. It is 7 voices, not one. 1/7 of a voice does not produce a document of this nature and say, have at it, tear it loose if you want to, with that type of attitude. I don't know what you're thinking, and I'm not gonna even try to think it. Those are your words, and I'm saying them back to you. We need a new, updated declaration. And if you have some extras that need to be put in, I'm talking to everybody, then that's when we need to put them in. But we don't need to hear that we could not be reached. I'm ready to make a motion.
Well, we can update it, but I don't see us taking it and revoking it. We can update it because it needs to stay in place in the midst of being updated.
Can you? I got a motion on the floor, and the motion says that we go.
I am still chairing the meeting, so I have not entertained your motion.
I'm just telling you that we have a motion that says that we go to the county executives. That's what, when you say you don't think that we should just tear this down, we're under the absence of the county executives.
And we have been doing well because a lot of mayors have looked at what we've been doing and started implementing it in their municipalities. And we have been doing well because of the work that Chief Hampton been doing in the state of emergency and the 5,000 masks that we give out every month to the residents. So we are doing good. But however, trying to dismantle the emergency, no. But updated, yes.
I'm looking at it right now and I'm trying to figure out exactly where we are any different than what is currently going on throughout the whole county.
Right, we're not. I already checked it. Sometimes we got to do our homework. And so the bottom line is we will be under the county executive. That's my motion.
Is there a motion on the floor to update the emergency order?
That is the motion. It is to update. It is to update this declaration. That's the first word, I think. I don't know where you got it, but if you want to read it, it is to update. And that we would serve under the executive order from out of Page's office.
So, Tony, just to be clear, so the motion is to update this current order and so it's on pause, for lack of a better word, until it's updated. And during that pause moment, we are fully under county. Am I correct?
Yes, I think, yes, that's exactly it. And I think, Fran, you look like you have a question too.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand because I know when Octavia read off the initial motion, that was not it. It was talking about.
Okay, let's have her to read it again. Octavia, read it again for us.
What I have is, hold on, let me find it. I'm sorry. That the city council declared that the state of emergency no longer exists and city staff follow St. Louis County and Department of Health direction to end current declaration and to create an order with full council input with what we need in it.
There you go.
It says dismantle. It did not say update.
Yeah, I think that's the difference. That
why don't we just call Sam Page and have him join the council as well? Hey, let run the meeting.
He already does.
Heather, you had your hand up.
So, uh, like, I really feel like this should be updated. I mean,
Right.
the city manager, we have in here, the city manager is hereby authorized to appoint the fire chief as the director of civil defense. I mean, that isn't something that Sam Page is dictating. So, I mean, there are specific things in here that we should have as the city of Ferguson. So I think updating it and getting buy-in by council, where it says, you know, where Mayor Jones, it says in here that you tried to reach city council members, and I don't know anybody that was contacted, and I think that's a point of contention. Like, let's rewrite this to be what we need and still be under the county mandates. That's my suggestion. And Tony, I am just asking that you potentially amend your motion, or retract that motion and amend it.
I can amend that.
Y'all must be really thin skinned, because it's not that serious.
It is that serious.
We're in a pandemic, people are dying.
Octavia, are you ready to take the reamendment?
And call your phone number. Wow.
Hey, Byron, like,
y'all too, please,
stop.
please.
Let's get
Tony,
through this.
would you make the amendment, restate your motion to amend the emergency order, and we'll get together?
Look, I move that we update the existing order to include the entire inputs of the council. That's the main thing. This is a we thing. And we need to be in compliance with the executive council. We got to be in compliance.
With the county mandate.
County.
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Worrell, second by Councilwoman Heather Robinette, to update the existing emergency order. Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
We have one. Ayes have it. It will be updated with the input of the council. Senor, Octavia, do you want to receive all the suggestions from the council member as to what they want updated in the emergency order?
I have a question. Were we coming together before the next council meeting for anything else from tonight?
We have a workshop that we need to schedule.
A work session.
A work session for this week or next week?
We haven't scheduled it yet.
Okay,
it has not been scheduled.
Okay, so now.
So if you want to hold it to then, that would be great.
No, I don't want to hold it to then. I'm just asking if we're going to have a working session. I want to just, is it going to be this week or next week?
We have not decided on when the work session is going to be.
I think that this needs to be done as quickly as possible.
Can I make a suggestion that
Sure.
if we would all go back and print off the current one, look it over, write down any of our suggestions, write down any of our subtractions, and then send our version to Octavia to let her correlate them, and then maybe send it back out to us. If we could give ourselves a logical time limit to get that done. I mean, we're on Tuesday. If we have it to her by Friday.
That'll work.
Right.
Would that work for the rest of the council members?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Octavia, if you should not receive one, would you let us know if you haven't gotten it? I know we had a couple of glitches on a couple of people's laptops this weekend. Would you let us know if you have not received one from all of us by Friday?
Okay, so I'm expecting something from
phone call, pigeon, whatever you got to do.
So I'm expecting something from each council member by Friday?
Each council member, even if it says no change, whatever it is, we want every voice heard.
Okay.
And then that way we won't have a problem if you were contacted or not.
Okay.
Next. Are we moving to new business?
I thought we were in new business.
That was no business.
Okay.
Miscellaneous, I think.
Fran, you have something?
No, I was waiting for miscellaneous.
Okay. Miscellaneous, Councilman Fry.
Everyone stay safe, stay warm, make sure your pipes don't freeze, and we'll see you on the 23rd.
I'd like to talk about Proud. I was in a Zoom meeting on
I'm going down
Saturday.
the list. The next
Oh, I didn't
person
know
will
you were
be
going. I didn't know
Councilwoman
you were going
Griffin.
down the list before. You were just letting people talk. This is the
Yeah,
first
I'm
time
going
you're
down the list.
Oh, today? Okay.
It's been 3 years.
Councilwoman Griffith.
Yes, I just wanted to tell everybody a little bit about the bias-free training that I had an opportunity to attend. Thank you, Nicole and Chief Armstrong, for inviting me. It was very interesting. As Chief Armstrong said, I was able to attend as the representative for City Council. It was day 3 of the training that they had done all together. So I saw a small snippet of what the overall training was. But during that snippet, I actually enjoyed watching the presentation and found it was really interesting that the training, the part that I saw specifically talked about acknowledging that everybody is biased, everybody has biases. And then they went on into discussing how, you know, for a police officer making a split decision, it's important to not only be able to acknowledge your biases, but be able to acknowledge them and make decisions based off of, you know, the fact that you are aware that you have these biases. So I thought that was a good thing. I was really interested in learning more about the second piece. The first piece was more about acknowledging. It seemed like there's a second piece that goes with that, how to take that acknowledgement and actually apply it to the work job. And again, this was an 8-hour training that I only saw a small portion of. So I'm sure, and as the educators, as the people that came out and did the presentation were talking to us, they explained to me that there is more into it in detail on how to actually do that. So I still it kept me drawn in, it kept me participating. I was able to ask, you all know, I'm gonna ask some tough questions. People don't always understand where I'm coming from, but I appreciated the fact that they were able to be able to answer some of those questions. And more importantly, what I got out of it was that this police department, there was a need. So they were under the consent decree. They needed to create a program to be able to do this bias-free police training. And there was, like us, you know, they were struggling trying to find out the training. The NPSC subcommittee has done all this research. The city was doing all of this research, trying to find the training that we needed for our officers. And the fact that they were able as a community, because community also participated in creating this program. It wasn't just something that the police made up. They brought in community as well and sat down and created this program. Excuse me. They were then able to create something that the DOJ could take and actually apply it or present it to another city like Ferguson that would help us. And to me, what that showed is that just like Suffolk, Ferguson has the opportunity to create what we need to create for our community. That could even be used as a model and taken to other places throughout the country to help us. And so I just want everybody to know, you know, when I talk about what we can do as a community, I don't want us as a community, as a council, to limit ourselves and what we can create and how much of an impact we can have if we just have the ability to open our minds to the possibility of what we can do together. So thank you again for allowing me to participate with this. I really appreciated it. And I'll be sure, just like I just immediately looked at, we've already created a CRB. The St. Louis City and the city of Ferguson is the only ones who have that in place. Just think of what else we could do. Participatory budgeting, we could do equity building pertaining to our needs. Like, we can do all of these things, and we can do it with little money. Yes, we're struggling, but I still have the mindset that we can use what we have to create what we need if we're willing to do it together. Thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Barrow.
Thank you. Friend, throw your name in the hat. For the last 2 years, I've been given a grant to people that were interested in going to the NACO training. I'm pretty sure they're going to have that training in full blast. Throw your name in the hat. You may just be the winner this year. So it's all expenses paid. Okay. So make sure you get your name in the hat. The thing I want to talk about, two things. So far, we're looking at the Human Rights Commission is folks totally stocked right now. They have all the people that they need on their roster. I appreciate Courtney Armstrong for coming on. Are you shaking your head that they need another person?
They need someone else on human rights. Is that not correct, Byron?
I was there.
Keep going.
I just need to know, do we need somebody else, Byron, or not?
Our next meeting is on the 22nd of February. I'll let you know then.
Okay, thanks. So, and I'm still trying to put together, as soon as I get this information that I've been asking for the economic development, we're ready to go. The thing on Saturday that I found interesting, I went to a Proud meeting as the liaison for the CRB, and they have a well-rounded list of people. Diversity is there. Diversity meaning that people are different. And they had 5 topics. I thought at first that it was going to be 5 different meetings, but as it turned out, that's what they came up with, that there was too broad of a spectrum to do all of them. But they had a lot of administrative work that they were doing on Saturday, but I can see that they're coming together and doing things that the community would be interested in learning about. CRB is going to be collaborating with Proud on some training. So that was one thing that came out of it that was really good. I think Jerry is on the line. We're going to be doing some training because with the NACO, we had taken some training. Everybody on the CRB board and myself had taken the whole training that NACO gave this year in 2020. And we thought that we were going to be able to bring it to the city, but we can bring it if we present it ourselves, but we cannot bring the actual presenters. They're going to let us use all of the resources. And so that's still going to be good. So we're going to work with Proud and decide on which ones we're going to do. And we are going to be having some that our own members will be doing in town hall meetings. We've been working on this for a year, and I'm telling you, it's going to be great. Don't miss it. When you see it come up, sign up, because we're going to I think you're going to learn some things. And some of that bias training, friend, that you were talking about, that's going to be available. So I appreciate everybody that is taking a look at the boards and commissions and feeling that you can give your time. There's some people probably, I don't know who's all on the participants, but there are some people that have the expertise and the time to give back. And I am encouraging you to sign up. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Heather Robinette.
So I'd like to just tell council and the community about conversation that our employer asked us to have with our staff, and it ties back to the good work that we've been doing here in Ferguson. So I just wanted to share how what we've done here is kind of being paid forward in the industry, so to speak. So we were asked as leaders to have a conversation called Hindsight 2020, look at the social awareness that came out in 2020 and have a real conversation with all of our employees. And, you know, when I held that conversation, you know, I gave some background about working with the Department of Justice, how we've been working with police and courts and trying to help those reforms. And I heard stories from my employees, I might start crying, that were so real and troubling that I didn't know they went through. And, you know, it's not just here in Ferguson, this is across the country. People of color have been experiencing this for a long time, and to have the conversation and then to be asked, what can you do to, you know, like, how can you help where you are, you know, with what you have? And some of my suggestions were, make sure you have a citizens review board, you know, like, make sure that's part of your community. Make sure, ask your police chief, do you have de-escalation training, and do you have bias-free training? And some of the stuff that we have been through, there are communities in rural parts of Texas that have never thought about that. And, you know, like, I have people all across the country and in Europe too. And, you know, what came out of those conversations was palpable to what we've been going through. And I just wanted to thank everybody who's been part of this journey since, you know, the death of Michael Brown, the work that everybody has put into the community. I just want to thank everybody, you know, for all the work that's been going on. And we're like just starting to scratch the surface, but I feel like here in Ferguson, you know, we've got a head start that other communities don't have. So I just wanted to thank everybody and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Linda, Councilwoman Linda.
So I just wanted to ask one thing. First of all, did I miss it, or did we skip over the resolution 2021-03 for Republic?
We can't, go ahead.
No, I made a motion to have it removed, and it was seconded, and we had it removed off today's agenda.
Can I ask why?
Yes, we're still waiting. It's a PDF that's, or I'm sorry, a RFP that's supposed to be going out. And so we need to get that out prior to.
RFP for what, Fran?
Jeff, you want to say something? I saw you move forward.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll move more slowly next time. Yeah, just in having a conversation with the city attorney, there's a couple of things we need to look at first. And so we'll be back to you.
Okay. I must have missed it. I don't know how I missed it, but I did. So I apologize. All right. So miscellaneous, I want to take this opportunity to thank Mary Simmons once again for her service. And I hope that she's having big plans for her retirement. And I also want to remind everybody to bring in your animals the next couple weeks or next 10 days or so. Please bring in your animals. I mean, we had a situation here in Ferguson where somebody left their dog chained all night in the cold a day or so ago. It's not acceptable. And you don't do it to your kids, don't do it to your family members, don't do it to your animals, please. And speaking of that, please check on your neighbors, especially elderly neighbors. Just check on them, make sure they're okay. If there is anybody that needs heating resources, you know, reach out. I don't know, you know, where we can get that. May have people reach out to. I don't know if they want to reach out to City Hall or whatever, but you know, we just want everybody to be aware to stay warm. And then finally, you know, it's an age-old song. I'm going to sing the chorus again. Lock your cars, take your guns in the house, put a gun lock on them, lock your guns, and stay safe. And don't kiss Coke people.
Okay. Councilman Garrett.
Thank you. Stay warm. It's cold. As a basement dwelling individual, it's affecting us all. I do want to emphasize the property restoration program that was brought up in a previous meeting. It was also brought up in one of the neighborhood association meetings. There's a lot of interest in it, and I'm excited to see that. And I really encourage everyone to investigate that and propose your questions and concerns. I think Bailey's doing a wonderful job spearheading that and getting that in development and getting that out there. But that's going to be a very beneficial program for the city. And I think it's going to create a lot of opportunity for different individuals to become homeowners. So making sure that it's a successful program as a city will be a great benefit.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just have only one item. FYI, they had their event on Friday night, and it was phenomenal. Some of the young people were drawing, some of them were singing. So if you get an opportunity, the next event is going to be in April. Please call Aaron and he will give you the date, and they need our support because they are a group of young people who are doing positive things with their life. Okay. The next item is anything from the city manager you would like to add, anything from the city attorney, the city clerk?
No, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Okay, everybody's shaking their head no. Okay. The next item is a closed session. We have a closed session pursuant to 610.021.3, 12 to discuss personnel matters and contract negotiations. Is there a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second.
It has been properly moved in second. Clerk Pittman, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Fry,
Aye.
Councilwoman Griffin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Burrow,
Aye.
Councilwoman
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lipka,
Aye.
Councilman Garrett.
Aye.
Aye, we are now in closed session. Everyone have a great night.
Do we have a 5-minute break or anything?
Yeah, we can have a 5-minute break. Yeah. Yeah.